Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're zeroing in on you, the managers, the directors, the team leaders. We're going to be diving into psychologist Carol Dweck's completely groundbreaking research on this concept of mindset. But look, we aren't just here to unpack a bunch of academic theory, right? We're translating her findings into a highly practical playbook for mentoring your teams and honestly, unlocking potential you might not even realize is sitting completely dormant in your office right now. So, picture this. Have you ever managed a team composed of absolute all-stars? You know the ones, glowing resumes, just natural brilliance, but then you watch them hit a wall and completely plateau. Meanwhile, there's this scrappy team of supposed underdogs right across the hall, and they are constantly innovating, adapting, and just crushing their targets. What is the difference there? Well, according to Dweck's research, it actually isn't raw intellect or a bigger budget. The differentiating factor is entirely in the mind. It's about how we process failure and how we view our own potential.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's the structured playbook we'll walk through today. Section 1 is the hidden team blocker. Section 2, fixed versus growth mindset. Section 3 covers the fear of looking incompetent. Section 4, the power of yet. Section 5, rewiring how you praise. And finally, Section 6, leading a growth culture. Let's get right into it.
Starting with Section 1, the hidden team blocker, diagnosing the root cause of performance plateaus. You know, when performance stalls out, it's so tempting to just point fingers at external factors, right? Like, oh, it's the market, or it's the tight budget. But the actual invisible barrier to success is usually foundational. It's simply how we view our own capabilities. It's a lack of a growth mindset. This is the core belief that human capabilities, intelligence, and talents are not just fixed at birth. It's not a genetic lottery. Instead, they're built. They are built through continuous learning, relentless practice, and hard labor. A team that genuinely believes their brains can adapt is going to tackle their work fundamentally differently than a team that thinks talent is just a static, you have it or you don't trait. Moving right along to Section 2, fixed versus growth mindset. Subtitle, How Mindsets Manifest in the Workplace. Now, what's really interesting about this is seeing how these two completely opposing views actually operate on the job. Imagine rolling out a really difficult new corporate initiative. Maybe it's some wildly complex software or a total restructuring of your sales process. An employee with a fixed mindset, they view this complexity as a massive threat. If they don't understand it immediately, they just assume they aren't smart enough and they give up quickly to protect their ego. But on the flip side, an employee with a growth mindset embraces that exact same challenge. To them, the difficulty isn't a threat at all, it's training. It's literally like a trip to the gym for their career. And this plays out most dramatically when things inevitably go wrong. Say one of your direct reports completely bombs a high-stakes client presentation. For someone with a fixed mindset, that internal dialogue instantly spirals into their identity. I have no talent for this. I'm a failure. It's devastating. But the growth mindset reaction, it completely separates the failure from their identity. Their internal dialogue goes, okay, wow, that was rough. But hey, this is a training opportunity. I'm learning what not to do next time. As a manager, you absolutely desperately need your team operating with that second mindset. Which brings us to Section 3, the fear of looking incompetent, the most dangerous workplace behavior. Let's look at the symptoms here, because a fixed mindset creates a culture deeply rooted in status anxiety, and guys, that is a recipe for organizational death. If your employees believe they were hired solely because they are smart, they become utterly terrified of ever losing that status. They're terrified of looking stupid. So what happens? They avoid new things and responsibilities, they take zero risks, they'll sit in meetings completely confused but fail to ask necessary questions just to protect their image. Ultimately, they hunker down and only execute tasks they are already naturally good at. They're essentially sacrificing innovation out of pure fear. Let's flip the script. Section 4, the power of yet, the manager's ultimate pivot tool. Okay, so we've diagnosed the disease, now here's the cure. And it's an incredibly simple but crucial management tool from Dweck's research. When an overwhelmed employee walks into your office and says, I don't know how to run this data analysis, or I can't close this type of client, they're making a fixed statement of defeat. As a mentor, your job is to immediately reframe it. You look at them and say, you don't know how to do this yet. That one tiny word, it's a total game changer. It acknowledges exactly where they are right now, but it builds a bridge to the future. It transforms a dead end into a dynamic, active pathway for learning. Section 5, rewiring how you praise. Subtitle, Mentorship Mechanics for Leaders. So the crucial point here is that your team's mindset doesn't just happen in a vacuum, right? It is actively shaped by exactly what you choose to praise. As leaders, our instinct is so often to praise innate ability, just to boost someone's confidence. We say things like, you're a natural at this, or you are so smart.
But Dweck's research actually shows this backfires completely. It breeds that fear of failure we talked about earlier. Instead, you have to rewire your praise. Start praising the mechanics of effort. Say, you worked really hard on this, or your persistence on this problem was excellent. By praising their discipline, their resilience, and their process, you're clearly communicating that you value their willingness to grind and learn way more than their natural gifts.
And finally, Section 6, Leading a Growth Culture. We'll outline daily habits for the leadership team. All right, it is time to operationalize this research into your daily management. The absolute core rule to remind your team of is that the brain works exactly like a muscle. Think about it. At the gym, lifting a heavy load breaks the muscle down so it can actually grow stronger. Well, in the corporate world, taking on difficult projects is that load. Load equals growth. If your team makes a mistake, it isn't proof of stupidity. It is simply the data required for learning. You have to actively normalize difficulty in your workplace. Difficulties are what develop the team. So let's summarize all this practical advice into 5 really actionable steps for building that innovative, growth-oriented culture. Step 1, audit your team's language and actively add the word yet to failure. Step 2, visibly treat mistakes as information during your postmortems, never as a weakness. Step 3, fall in love with the process and the effort, not just the final results. Step 4, seek out discomfort. That is exactly where growth happens, so encourage your team to step outside their core competencies. And Step 5, please stop comparing your team members to others. The only healthy, productive comparison is comparing them to who they were yesterday. I want to end this explainer with a powerful question for you to really sit with as you head back to your teams today. Are you simply managing people for their innate talent, just crossing your fingers and hoping they never hit a wall? Or are you actively leading them for growth, giving them the tools to actually overcome any obstacle in their path? Because you have to remember, the true potential of your team is never, ever fixed. It is entirely up to you to help them realize that. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Start applying these strategies today and just watch how your team transforms.